In this video, you will learn the top 10 weirdest laws that were normal in ancient Rome. Rome's first law introduces a unique custom known as the right of the kiss. According to this law, women were required to kiss their husband, father, and brother on the mouth daily. It turns out this practice had a rather peculiar purpose. It enabled the men of the family to assess the woman's breath and confirm her abstinence from wine. In ancient Rome, a woman's consumption of wine was associated with dishonor and adultery. If a woman was caught drinking wine, she could be disowned or even killed by her husband with the consent of her closest relatives. This unusual law aimed to uphold these strict standards. The second weirdest Roman law was the law that forced prostitutes to have blonde hair. Prostitutes in ancient Rome faced some peculiar regulations. The Roman Empire's women were primarily natural brunettes, and those with blonde hair were considered barbarians from the north, which was mostly Germanic areas. As a result, Roman prostitutes were forced to dye their hair blonde to maintain the distinction. Ironically, this rule backfired and Roman women became jealous of women with blonde hair. Roman women started dyeing their hair blonde as well, leaving Roman officials and citizens alike in dismay as it became nearly impossible to tell the difference between women of class and prostitutes. The third weirdest Roman law was the sumptuary laws and how regular citizens could not wear a purple toga, enacted by Julius Caesar and reinforced by Augustus. This law regulated the wearing of the toga, a garment symbolizing Roman citizenship. The law stipulated that only the emperor could wear a completely purple toga, a color associated with royalty and power. This visually represented the social hierarchy and the emperor's special status. The fourth weirdest Roman law was the fart law. According to the Roman historian Suetonius, Emperor Claudius once expressed a desire to pass a law allowing people to pass gas at mealtimes. Claudius was concerned about the health implications of retaining wind. Could be bad for the digestive system. Therefore, he contemplated legalizing the act of farting at meals to promote better health. The fifth weirdest Roman law was the law that punished parricide. In ancient Rome, father figures were held in the highest esteem and the family was taken very seriously. Anyone who committed parricide or parenticide, which is the killing of a parent or close family member, the condemned person was first whipped, then put in a large leather sack, along with an assortment of live animals and thrown into the water to drown. The animals typically included a dog, a rooster, a snake, and a monkey. The sack was then sealed and thrown into a river, lake, or the sea, effectively drowning the condemned person and the animals inside. The sixth weirdest Roman law was the law that governed owning one's spouse. In ancient Rome, a man had the legal right to own just about anything, and that included his wife. A wife who didn't leave her husband's home for 3 days in a row once every year would automatically become her husband's property. Wives, therefore, made it a habit to take regular 3-day holidays to ensure they remained their own person. The seventh weirdest Roman laws were the laws that restricted chariots in the streets of Rome. Around 44 BC, Roman roads and streets were filled with thundering chariots that often injured and killed people. Chariot drivers would engage in Roman road rage, yelling and swearing at pedestrians and at other chariot drivers. Julius Caesar had had enough. He decreed that all chariots would be banned for the first 10 daylight hours of the day, allowing them to operate only in the last 2 twilight hours before sunset. This was a step towards ensuring safety on the chaotic Roman roads. The eighth weirdest Roman law was the law that gave fathers in Rome the legal right to temporarily sell their kids as a slave. The buyer, as part of the bargain, was expected to bring the kid back home after a certain time. Anyone who sold their child into slavery 3 times, though, was considered an unfit father. The child would have to finish his 3rd session as a slave, but afterward, he would be legally emancipated from his parents. The 9th weirdest law that Romans thought was normal was the law about suicide. Romans were not allowed to simply take their own lives. A Roman citizen had to submit a petition to the Senate and indicate in it the reasons explaining why they would want to commit suicide. If the reasons were convincing enough, the applicant was issued a suicide permit and a bottle of poison. The 10th weirdest Roman law was the law that governed what should happen if a Roman citizen got hit by lightning. If lightning hit a citizen of Rome, it was believed to be the result of the wrath of Jupiter. If your loved one was struck down by the gods, it was forbidden to bury him or her. You couldn't even lift the body from the street. Any breach of this rule would be seen as robbing Jupiter of his sacrifices.